Fantasy managers, hello and welcome back to the FPL Addicts podcast Game Week 22 preview show sponsored by Bonus Bank. If you're new around here, make sure you give our podcast or video some love with a like, rating or review, as well as subscription. But joining me here today, I've got Chaz Roberts. We're depleted today. There's only 2 panel members. But we're ready to go. We're ready to look into it and preview and look at double game weeks, triple captains, you name it. And good to have you. How you going, mate?
Chris, firstly, good morning to where you are. You're probably from your office. I was on my chair, but my eyes are getting the better of me at the moment. I'm coming now from my bed next to me cat. And I cannot emphasize enough how depleted we are. I don't know what's happened to my podcast, man. There's only just the 2 of us. We could only make it fly. Just the 2 of us. Just you and I.
It is the 2 of us, mate, and it's getting on a little bit. Obviously, in Australia over there, you've done well to manage to stay up and get this done with me. So appreciate that, buddy. But yeah, we'll go straight into it. I suppose no hanging about. Quick review of, I suppose, last game week and so on, and the results and everything else. So let's have a look and see. Here we go. So I'll try and pull that up. Just give me 2 ticks. I'll work this out, mate. But yeah, I think if we look at...
Do you want me to do
mine? I think it was Liverpool-Chelsea was the first game. Obviously, it was a bore 0-0 draw at Anfield. Not much to really talk about. Few chances here and there. Did you manage to catch any of the highlights of that one, Chazza?
Personally, I have not yet. I've been absolutely busy left, right, and centre. Yeah, but I'm just seeing if I can share my screen at the moment. I don't know how this is going to work.
It's all
if
good,
you get my
buddy.
Screen up, I can help you. That's if you
it's
can get
all
it
good.
up.
It's all good. I think I've managed to share it for us there. So we want to basically look at the results for last week. So it's, as I say, 0-0 between Liverpool and Chelsea, bore 0-0 draw. There was a couple of chances here and there from Gakpo. Mudryk, when he came on, looked really, really sort of sharp and good. So, yeah, I mean, as I say, we don't really need to go into it too much. It's just one of those games that you expect to be goals and a bit more happening, but it wasn't the case, as the league table doesn't lie. Liverpool's sitting just maybe just in front, I think, Chelsea at the minute. But it probably won't be for long. But yeah, going into the next game, I would say West Ham against Everton. Bowen and Antonio, are they back? Bowen with the brace. Antonio got an assist. What do you think, Chazza?
Personally, I think this could be a return game for Jarrod Bowen. Looking at the bigger picture out of the 2, I don't see Antonio being much of a fantasy option nowadays. His peak was achieved the start of last season, but now they've got more strike options in that squad. I see his minutes being limited. Can I just quickly refer back to the early game? Not much of a grasp on it. However, considering both sides, just going to Liverpool and Chelsea, FYI to those who are currently watching, and if you are, thanks for your efforts. It's a missed opportunity for both. It was 9th versus 10th heading into the game. Both have had really poor starts to the season. I'd like to emphasise Liverpool's midfield too. I think it's been wearing thin, and they've just looked extremely lacklustre since the start of the campaign. Their injury toll has not helped them. Chelsea, on the other hand, it's a sort of scoreline which I could get a bit out of it. I felt Mudryk's 35-minute cameo was really good for them. Just needs to get a start under his belt and then get the fantasy returns on the board. We could see a genuine bandwagon for the Ukrainian sometime soon.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I know we didn't see too much of him, but he did look really sharp. That little sort of effort he had in the box, he took on a few players in tight spaces and got a shot, albeit hit the side netting. But yeah, I mean, Chelsea have obviously made a load of signings, but he seems to be the standout pick, as you say there, Chaz. But yeah, if we move on to Newcastle Palace. So basically, it was 0-0. Not really much to talk about, but another Newcastle clean sheet. They just keep doing it, Chazza, pulling out the clean sheets. Do we expect more from them, more of the same in the next few game weeks, or do you think it'll...
It's one of those games where it's been a missed opportunity for Newcastle to take more points. Similar to the game they had at home to Leeds, where they had a fair few chances, especially early on, but they couldn't muster a victory out of it. And we know that top four is beyond their expectations this season, amazing. But if they really wanted to challenge against Arsenal, I mean genuinely, and probably Man City level, they should be winning both of these games, but they haven't. So that's more just settling for third and fourth right now. But of course, for their fans, it's an amazing result, and I'm very happy for them. For Palace, too, at home, they've looked poor. And it started for Boxing Day at home to Fulham, lost 3-0. Their second half was disastrous against Tottenham, losing 4-0. They had a moment of magic at the end against Man United, which gave them a 1-1 draw. And I did feel half the time I defended relatively well. But it's just an attack at Selhurst. It's been a shadow of what it once was.
Yeah, and players like Zaha, who they kind of look to every week to do something and deliver. He's not really lived up to it this season. He's missed a couple of penalties and sort of, if it's not going well for Wilfried Zaha, we know how it ends up. So yeah, Palace form at home hasn't been great. Newcastle missed opportunity for points, as you say. But in terms of FPL, anyone who owns double Newcastle defence are bringing in the points.
Just want to touch briefly on Kieran Trippier and Reb's captaincy decision, because it turned out to be a really good one. And I feel he can challenge the players that have a premium price tag on players you could captain every single game week. So he's returned every game week since game week 13.
Yeah, great point. It's almost like most people, when they're struggling to sort of pick a captain, you're guaranteed, the way Newcastle have played anyway, to get the clean sheet points and even the bonus points. He just automatically seems to get them, even though he might not be having the best games, but being on set pieces obviously helps that for him. So yeah, 0-0 again, I suppose. Maybe another sort of built-bore 0-0 draw. But moving on from that one, Matoma at it again for Brighton with an absolute pearler of a goal. Thriller against Leicester, which, the way Leicester have played this season, you probably expect Brighton to win that one easy, but it was 2-2. But like I say, Matoma again, Evan Ferguson, who's been a little bit of a FPL gem this season for the price he's at, getting that headed goal and the equaliser for Brighton. But yeah, Matoma, do we still ignore him? Do we bring him in, or what's the situation, Chaz, on that one?
It's a calamity of a situation. It's not because of a player, but it's more because of the team. And Brighton, from what I heard, are suspected to have a blank in the not too distant future. So do you take advantage of the fixtures that are quite immediate, or do you think a bit more long term and sort of deter away from players within those certain sites who are going to be affected by the blanks and the further postponements due to either themselves or their opposition with further cup duties?
Yeah.
I think at the minute, and how much of a streak he's on, I say go for him.
Yeah.
And I don't think it will be a hot streak where he'll go on a massive run and then just completely stop. I feel he's going to return more than he won't. I reckon he'll be a consistent player for the season running.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll touch on that a little bit later, I think, in terms of the fixtures and so on. But I think it's a valid point you're making there. I think that, there's still time to bring him in. If you haven't got too many fires to put out for that blank game week 25, which is another situation we'll kind of talk about briefly. But yeah, Brighton are looking great. Matoma's looking great. And it's difficult to ignore those sort of players when they're
What happened?
Is amazing. Just had a bit of a connection. Don't worry, Chaz. We're still rocking. But yeah, so Erling Haaland with 3 goals against Wolves. Now, Kevin De Bruyne got his assists. A few people wanted to go away from Haaland for game week 21, go with KDB, maybe a bit different, whether you were chasing, consolidating, whatever it might be. And Haaland just proved again why he's the best captaincy pick in FPL.
He did. This game just emphasises a bracket right now that Riyad Mahrez, his point scoring is challenging Kevin De Bruyne despite being 3 million cheaper.
Mm.
And it's a good statement to raise of De Bruyne being a somewhat worthy transfer out. Dangerous, but understandable, despite Man City having a double in 23, which is the next game week after this, with Villa at home and Arsenal away. Two good matchups where Kevin could genuinely run reins and set the world on fire and even shock the fantasy landscape. But standard game for City. It took a while for them to get going as I had a look at it, watching for my bet at 1 a.m. But that's just how you dedicate yourself. You go out there, give it 110%. It doesn't matter what time of the hour it is. Yeah. But Man City just doing their usual work. That's how I saw the game.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, Erling Haaland doing it again. Mahrez seeming to be the minutes guy at the minute, which in the past he's not sort of been that guy. He's been more of a player for the Champions League and so on. But he's a serious consideration, for the game weeks coming up. Mainly the game week 23, which City have a double in. So yeah, good morning to Mike. And everyone this morning who's joining the stream, Tiff and so on, Chris and all those people. So thank you for tuning in. One other thing to mention before we move on from the game week 21 results and so on is a 5-goal thriller at the Emirates, and I'm sure Mike Halpin will be happy about this one, and yourself, Chazza. It was a great game to watch. Almost like the Arsenal United of old games that we got, the retro games. And Arsenal managed to nick it near the end. What did you think of the game, Chazza?
I thought it was a good game to watch. And United did well on the counter-attack. But the stats reflected how it was genuinely viewed. And it was a one-sided game, looking at it from a statistical perspective. So Arsenal definitely deserved to win the game. I felt if it ended as a draw, Man United would have taken it as a really, really good result for them. I didn't feel they played amazing. Amazing goal from Rashford, a good goal from Martinez from a set piece. I felt it was from the corner. Saka's goal was just simply incredible, and the Nketiah 50-50 goal, which went to the benefit of the doubt of the North London side. But a very important win for Arsenal.
Yeah, it was an important win to keep the title charge going and so on. Looking good at the top still. And as you said, there's some great goals. Rashford, Saka with a beauty, and Eddie, of all the chances he's been getting at the moment, because statistically, as you mentioned, Arsenal looking great, and Eddie in particular, with how he's looking in front of goal. Albeit he did stick his leg out and managed to get on the end of that one, and it went past the hair. But you don't care how they go in. It doesn't matter as long as you win the game. So yeah, fantastic. So I'm just going to move on to basically the mini league, see how we're looking. So I'll just go back. Here we go. And we'll have a look how we're going in the podcast league. Still tight, I suppose. Still tight. Elliot Craig's at the top there. But we'll look at me and you because the other guys aren't here. So we'll keep it short and sweet. And I'll look at you first, Chazza. How do you think you went last week, mate? 76 points. What were your sort of best bits and worst bits, if you like?
Okay, well, there's a Krispy Kreme pair of donuts down back, and a donut could be white, but Krispy Kreme's a genuine sure thing, and that's what's happened with White and Shaw. 0 points between the two, amazing. Trippier, sensational. Rashford, great goal. De Bruyne getting an assist, which is needed, and Saka with an excellent one. So I felt the midfield wasn't too bad. Almiron's an issue right now. The Haaland hat-trick definitely helped. I mean, Kane with his goal. And I think Kane hasn't been a bad transfer in. He's had an assist and a goal since he's come into the side, which has been within the last 2 game weeks. But when you're looking at it overall, it was a high-scoring game week.
Yeah.
And in addition, everyone's score from the mini league we're in was even higher than 76.
Yeah, I think 76 wasn't too bad of a score. I mean, you look at the average being 65 for that game week and so on. 76 was okay. I mean, you were unlucky with the White and Shaw sort of getting 0 points, but that's just kind of how it turned out. And your midfield, and obviously Haaland with the captaincy pick was where the points were at. Kane still ticking along nicely, but he's sort of just shy of getting a huge double-digit haul. I mean, he's had his one against Palace in game week 19. He got 16 there, and he's been close with his 10s and his 11s and so on. But we probably want to see a bit more from Harry Kane. But yeah, solid game week 76, as I say. You can't complain too much on that one. Let's go to my game week. So 82 points all out. Pretty happy with that. I did this week decide to choose Kepa, which the week before, I went for Ward, trying to be too clever, and I just thought, even though it's Liverpool, just go for it. What's the worst that can happen? So yeah, 0-0, managed to get the points from Kepa. Trippier's a given, and Perisic finally got me, Chaz, a clean sheet.
Hey.
Finally, I brought this guy in probably 2-3 weeks ago. If you look, he had Arsenal, City.
Oh, God, how many ones?
He's not been great. Yeah, he's not been great.
How many ones? Jeez, Spurs are a very poor defensive side.
Yeah, very poor indeed. So,
yeah, Cancelo.
João Cancelo. There we go. Yeah, he's no longer part of FPL, as probably most people know. He's moved to Bayern Munich on loan, which I'm sure shocked the not only the football world, but yeah, FPL world, because it's been such a great asset. But he is no more moving forward for the remainder of the season, so he got automatically transferred out anyway for White, who got me 0 points. So it didn't really matter. But yeah, ticking along nicely. I brought in Solly March, who didn't return, missed an absolute sitter for Brighton. Matoma setting him up, and he just absolutely skied it. Fernandez managed to get on the end of some points, and Haaland captain, which I was happy about. So few and far between in terms of mine and your points. I think there was only 6 point difference. So although 82 looks better than the 76, it's not anything special. So yeah, as I say, reviewing just our game weeks and how they went. That's pretty much it for us too. I just want to basically look at the Members League. So we'll just have a quick look at that. And in first place, basically still at the top, is Matty Mackey. He's on 1,317 points. Still flying, still doing really well. So well done to Matt. And I'll just go to our public league. There we go. And at the top there is Mihai Victor. He's on a monumental 1,384 points. He's inside the top 1K. So that just shows you how impressive that point score is so far this season. We'd be gracious to get anywhere near that one, which has but I think we're sitting in the 2 millions at the moment, right?
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Just vibing.
Yeah. One day we'll get there. So yeah, that's how the mini leagues are looking. In the women's, we'll give you an update for that one next week, as Jack's not here, and same for the members head to head as well. We'll give you an update for that next week. But one other thing that I want to kind of bring in, I suppose, or mention really, is our sponsor. So before we get into the team selection for game week 22, I will just share this screen with you. We'll have a look at that. And there we go. So when it eventually decides to pop up for us, Chazza, I don't like all these buttons and whatnot when Jack's not here. He knows exactly what to do. There we go. Okay, so bring that up for us, bonus bank. That's the one.
Chris, by now I would have had 6 life quotes, I'd say, through tally, but I'm absolutely spent.
You're goosed, aren't you?
I am goosed, but tough times.
The show must go on.
People do.
There we go. That's it. Okay.
That's one of them.
So finally managed to get it up. Right. Don't comment on that, Chazza, by the way. Here we go. I'll bring it up.
Okay. Are you talking about before the show?
No, I'm not talking about the show at all.
Oh, that was funny.
Okay, So anyway, bonus bank, as I say. So bonus bank free fantasy football tool this season to help people win their FPL mini leagues. The tool displays the probabilities of clean sheets for each team and which player is likely to score. This is useful in determining the best defenses and players to pick, as well as assisting with those captain choices. This week, top 3 teams to keep a clean sheet. There's the probabilities, basically. You've got Man United v Crystal Palace, and there's a 49.6% of a clean sheet for Man United. What do you think on that one, Chaz? Do you think United, with them having a double game week as well, do you think they can keep a clean sheet against Palace?
With their current form they're in, yes. But I don't see a whole lot of goals scored. I reckon a 2-0 win to Man United. Might be a spanking. That's
fair enough, yeah. But they're looking good defensively at the moment. And obviously people bring it in. Luke Shaw is sort of the popular pick in terms of United defenders. The next one is Man City v Tottenham. And it's not Brighton in that one. It's Man City.
I was going to say.
They're expected...
Seagulls appear.
They're expected to keep a 49.6% probability of a clean sheet against Spurs. Now, we've already seen the Man City Spurs fixture the other week, and we know how that went.
I don't see this being a clean sheet at all.
I was going to say, do we think the City are likely to keep a clean sheet against Spurs this week? Or this weekend even? Yeah, probably not. But I mean, bonus bank give that as a high probability. The way City can play and defend, it could happen. And then the next one is Everton v Arsenal. I mean, in terms of probabilities, they're all the same percentage. So you could probably argue that Arsenal, out of those 3, would be the most popular and most likely to keep the clean sheet against an Everton team that don't look great at the moment. They're near the bottom of the table. Sean Dyche has took over, so you'll see if he can manage to keep the Gooners out. But do you think on that one, Chazza, would you agree that Arsenal would more than likely keep the clean sheet over those 3 teams?
If Arsenal get an early goal, I see it occurring.
Mm-hmm.
However, if it carries on being 0-0, there's more of a chance we could concede or we don't win at all.
Yeah, quite possibly. That first goal is normally crucial, but you guys are looking really good at the minute. So the clean sheet, you could quite well see that happening. And moving on to the top 3 players to score probabilities. We've got that man Erling Haaland at the top with the form he's in. Do you think he can definitely score against Spurs?
I don't see why not, because he scored against them last time. He scored a hat-trick last game week. There you go. I just want to go through to the graph too. I do see Rashford carrying on his form. Danny Welbeck's the interesting one.
Yeah, I agree. Danny Welbeck for Brighton. I mean, Evan Ferguson seems to have been amongst the goals lately. Danny Welbeck did score against Liverpool, though, a week or 2 ago, which isn't hard this season, of course. But I like that. I like that sort of little bit of a spanner in the works almost. Danny Welbeck, 43.29% probability of scoring. And then Marcus Rashford, who's in great form at the minute, of course, with the 41.32. And they've got Palace in their first fixture at home. So, brilliant. I like those. Looking good for this week, Chazza. And we'll move on to the discussion part of the podcast, I suppose. There's a lot to discuss, but we'll try and get through it as soon as possible because I know that you're going to be with. You're going to have one eye open in a moment, or you'll probably be sleeping. If anything,
so. I've yawned about a good 6 times, so let's smash this through. Go bang, 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 bang.
So basically the preview fixtures for upcoming double game week 22. So if anyone didn't know already, it is a double game week. You've got United Dublin and Leeds Dublin as well. So yeah, I just want to basically sort of look at the fixtures, and we'll just check that now, Chaz. So there we go. Bring that up for us, and I'll have a look at those and see what you think. Okie doke. So the fixtures for this week. Here we go. Game week 22.
Okay.
In regards to the double, we'll jump straight to that. You've got United v Palace, and then you've got Leeds v Forest, and then you've got the final fixture being United v Leeds. How do you think those will end up in terms of the best fixtures and the best players? Maybe.
Yeah, my best fixture is going later today. Chelsea versus Fulham. With the amount of signings Chelsea have had, there's a great anticipation for them heading into the game. When you're looking in contrast to Fulham, they've beaten 2-1 not so long ago, and they're looking to bounce back after their narrow defeat against Tottenham, which somewhat robbed of their reducing the gap, I should say, between them and the Champions League position. So they've got a lot to play for, Fulham.
Yeah. So it is basically deadline day today. Guys, don't forget about that and think it's tomorrow, and forget to make your moves or your captain picks and things like that. The first game of the night is Chelsea v Fulham. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Chelsea's new players are about, Chaz. So great sort of point on that one. Everton Arsenal's the midday kickoff. I'm sure that's going to attract a lot of interest, and hopefully you'll be awake for that one. But yeah, in terms of fixtures, that's looking good. Brighton Bournemouth is another one. Great fixture. Have you got any Brighton players, Chaz?
I don't at the moment, but I'm tempted to bring in Matoma. I thought Estupiñán looked good with his 2 assists against Leicester too. Yeah,
I think that's a great point. Estupiñán has looked really good. It's just whether you want to bring him in with Brighton have the blank in 25. But yeah, Leeds players, let's go on to that one. Any thoughts on maybe any Leeds players for the double game week? Do you think they're worth the punt?
The closest would have been is Rodrigo, but now he's injured for a couple of months, I think. Rules
that's right,
him out automatically. One player I have liked a lot is Willie Gnonto.
Yeah.
But statistically, he's a lot better returning at home as opposed to playing away. So it slightly puts me off even considering him for their coming double game week. Aside from that, no one really else.
No one else, though. Colm there with the comment, did Reedy just say Man United and Leeds are playing Dublin? They're not, Colm. They are doubling in game week 22, just to clarify that. But just a quick question I want to throw in from Colm there, Chaz. So he said, thoughts on Mahrez, short or long-term asset? The UCL is back soon. I'm worried about him being rotated as he usually plays every Champions League game.
Now, I'm no expert because I am about to fall asleep. But short-term asset, Mahrez on that one. I just reckon he's used as short-term. But his impact, if you get him in now, could be a rank changer.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of triple captain, I just want to mention that one because you've got Rashford and Bruno. We haven't used our triple captain, Chaz. Is there any thought of you using that this week?
Considered it, but I haven't been fully invested in. So I think I'm going to hold off. I do just fractionally prefer Haaland's fixtures for next week.
Okay. And
what about you?
Well, I was just going to say, in terms of triple captain for me, I have toyed with the idea of Rashford or Bruno. The ownership of Bruno is kind of tempting me with me chasing. So I am tempted to triple captain him, and he's notably good against Leeds in the past. He's hauled and so on. So it is there, but I am going to leave it till the last minute to decide on who to put it on if I do use it. Another question, I suppose, is how many double game week players is enough for this week, Chaz? How many do you think?
Going with, you take in consideration, it's just Leeds and Man United, is that right?
It is, yeah. Just Leeds and Man United.
So for this, 3 is about enough.
Three is enough. Fair enough. Yeah, well, fair enough, I suppose.
I don't really see who would be relevant at Leeds right now.
Yeah. So you're saying Triple United is probably about right, yeah?
About right, because you want to make it easier to potentially transfer them out once they get their blank game week in a couple of game weeks' time.
Spot on. And in terms of the blank game week 25, as you just mentioned, we do now, it's confirmed that Newcastle, Man United, Brentford, and Brighton will basically blank in 25. So, if you are going to bring any of those players in, more notably United players with the double this week, and we've talked about Matoma, Brighton assets as well, just be careful in terms of your moves. That you've got enough transfers, or you may be planning on using a chip or something like that. It's good to kind of have a plan for that game week that's coming up. But yeah, there was only one other thing I wanted to mention, and this is sort of brief, if you like, and that's the January transfer signings. Arsenal have brought in Trossard and Jorginho, which I don't think anyone expected. Is that a good or bad signing, Chazza, for Arsenal?
Jorginho, a good signing for us when looking at it from a midfield depth perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But this may be potentially having an effect on Bukayo Saka owners. Why? Yeah. Because Jorginho may take penalty duties off him.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But Saka does have the confidence to bundle in penalties now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's a sensible signing, maybe a smart signing by Arteta, and taking one of the players off your key rivals halfway through the season. It could, come to fruition for Arsenal in terms of winning the title. But Villa have signed Alex Moreno. I think he's promising in terms of left back and could be an option in FPL. Chelsea have brought in Enzo Fernandez, which was like the big deadline day signing for over 100 million. And I'm sure Chelsea fans will be happy with getting him in and strengthening the midfield, especially with Jorginho going to Arsenal. United brought in Sabitzer on loan from Bayern Munich. As we know, Christian Eriksen has just got his injury, so maybe that's a reinforcement for them, as United are looking really good at the minute. Newcastle, Anthony Gordon, or Claire Balding, however you want to put it, 45 million.
Oh, so Gordon and Balding.
Yeah.
So
I
thought it was because they looked alike.
They do look alike, but the name
and Gordon and Balding both rhyme.
It sounds a bit similar.
It's taken me 22 game weeks to figure out this bloody inside joke I see from a WhatsApp chat all the time.
Oh my God, Chazza. Yes, so I'm not sure about that one. It could turn out to be a great signing, but Nottingham Forest, they've made their 100th signing of the season. Keylor Navas has come from PSG, I think it is, and John Joe Shelby from the Toon, and he's signed for Forest as well. And then last one is Spurs, Pedro Porro. They finally got the right back amongst the, 4 or 5 right backs that they already had, with Matt Doherty going to Atletico. Do you think that one will be a good signing and a good option in FPL? 5 million he's at. Would you consider bringing him in at some point, Chazza?
Was this... Sorry, I lost track there.
It's Pedro Porro for Spurs. Pedro Porro. He's come from Sporting Lisbon.
He could be okay, but if I'm going to be dead honest with you, I don't know a whole lot about him.
Yeah, he does look good from UCL. In terms of Champions League, he's looked really, really good. Spanish fullback, and I think that's Emerson Royale's days numbered. Jed Spence hasn't even had a look in, but yeah, good signing for Spurs. So I just want to mention about EPL Live. If you've not downloaded it already, then get onto it now. We're all using our new partner preferred Premier League app, EPL Live Sport Mate. It's built by football fans for football fans. It combines live scores with the most in-depth team and player stats alongside all the latest breaking football news and video highlights. So the link to download will be in the caption below. I'll add that on just before the end of the stream. And in terms of for this week, Chazza, I'll just bring our teams up and let's have a look. Transfers for this week, Chazza. What are you thinking, bud? What are you thinking?
So, Adam, can you access my share screen or not?
Go on. Yes, let's do it. So share that screen, baby, and I'll add it to the stream. There we go.
Right. That's what we're thinking. Well, in fairness, I haven't really thought anything. I've got to get up at 3:45. The alarm's going to be set for. I've got to go for a run at 4. And then afterwards, maybe do my transfers quickly. Then go for a quick nap. Then watch West London Derby. But for this one, I'm thinking maybe De Bruyne down to Bruno. But it may create carnage for blank game week 25 and upgrade Patterson to a defender. Or take Miggy Almiron out for a midfielder within a similar price bracket.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. So Miggy is potentially the move that you're making. What did you say? How many transfers have you got at the moment, Chazza?
Oh yes, let me bring the information.
There we go. So two frees this week, sitting pretty with that. An Almiron, and who was the other one?
I was thinking De Bruyne out.
Oof, De Bruyne out. Wow.
But hey, viewers, please fire through your suggestions. I can't think right now because I'm genuinely about to collapse.
I was going to say Chaz is on his last legs at the moment.
Yeah.
So if you can try and give him a few suggestions in the comments there.
There you go. That's mine, Chris. That's sort of what I'm roughly thinking. What about you, boss?
Let's have a look then. So I will just share my team. We'll have a look. What I will tell you is that I have already made one transfer, and that is Luke Shaw. So I've brought Luke Shaw in for the departing João Cancelo. So this at the moment is how I'm set for game week 22. Luke Shaw's in there for the double along with Fernandes and Rashford. I am thinking of making one more move, but it would be a -4. Whether I need to do that, I'm not entirely sure. But Almiron would be the guy to take out, similar to like what you said there, Chazza. So yeah, that's it at the moment. I'm kind of set. Captain is on Fernandes as it stands. It might change to triple captain. It might change over to Rashford. I just haven't kind of decided yet on whether to use that chip and so on. But yeah, looking okay for this game week, I suppose, eh?
That's all right. All the best.
Good stuff, mate.
And I hope they turn into a team of champions and go out there, give it 110%.
I love it. Love that. I just want to move on to the captain's corner, mate. Are you in any fit state to kind of get through this, or?
Look, I always am. Just not in a fit state to do a sign, mainly because I don't have one up my sleeve. But I've got a few options for captaincy corners time. So let's get on with it, shall we?
Let's go, Chazza.
Yeah, don't tell me you put me on full screen. Hey, what are you doing? All right. I'm going to have to. No, I think it's too much of a risk bringing the light because it's going to be complete pitch black. But there you have it. So the captain's heading into the game week 22. Option number 1, Marcus Rashford. He scored 48 points since the restart. Only Odegaard, Kane, and Trippier have scored more than him within the time period. He has scored in 6 consecutive home league games, which is equaling a club record. Within the last 3 games he's played, he's shot 3 times or less. And in each of those, he scored at least 1 goal, which shows how clinical he can be in front of the goals, but also making the most of the opportunities that present for himself. He's got half of the competition's ownership now, which, in other words, is labelled as going too dangerous without him, and the 3rd most transferred in. Is a big, massive triple captaincy conversation type player heading into this game week, especially with 2 appetising home fixtures. Option number 2, his teammate from Portugal, Bruno Fernandes. Last time I checked, his ownership was roughly 10%, which isn't too bad. So if you're chasing some ground, this could be the avenue to go down. he has returned in each of his last 5 game weeks with 2 goals and 3 assists. Coincidentally enough, with all of those game weeks, it is not featured Cristiano Ronaldo within the side. And it brings back to the point of a season that he had a couple of seasons ago, where he scored the most fantasy points of any midfielder throughout that specific campaign with 244 points. In other words, he thrives without the Portuguese on top, not like the icing on top of pavlova cakes. 4 of United's next 5 are rated as a 2 on the fixture difficulty ranking. Option number 3. One of our podcast members went a little bit outside the box and captained this man who has returned in every game week since game week 14, and that is Kieran Trippier. Within that time frame, he's had 3 assists and 8 clean sheets. He's had 44 more points than any other defender in the entire game, which is mental. His ownership is just sitting below 70% as we speak. But just like Rashford, just like Fernandes, and him, all have a blank in game week 25. So beware of a tightrope. Option number 4, the Norwegian, Erling Haaland. Scored 4 goals within the last 2 games, including a hat-trick at home to Wolves. And he did score last time against Tottenham. He's already got 25 goals this season. And very briefly, option number 5, Harry Kane. We mentioned about him briefly earlier within tonight's episode. He got the assist last time versus City at the Etihad. Got his goal last game week against Fulham, which equaled a club record of goals scored in all competitions. But if he gets one more, he breaks Jimmy Greaves' record. And he hasn't returned in a home game since November, which is very ironic. And that game was against Leeds, where they won 4-3. But since the restart, he's blanked in both home games against Villa and Arsenal. But Spurs haven't scored in those at all. That is my captains. Wind on the whiteboard for this game week. A sign should be coming around the corner. Thanks for tuning in, and may your FPL dreams come true.
Love that, Chazza. Some great shouts there. 5 as well. I mean, and the whiteboards come out. So some great work. And yeah, I think those doublers especially, people will be looking at slapping the captain's armband on. So fantastic. But yeah, I mean, that's it for kind of today, I suppose. Jump in the link tree in the caption below to find out how to get involved in our leagues and community. In terms of our sponsor, big thanks to Bonus Bank for supporting us and our community this season. Australia's and New Zealand's fastest growing side hustle. So make sure you check out their details in the caption below on how to take advantage of bookies promotions. It's free to set up, but you can also receive 25% off your first premium month with our discount code FPL Addicts. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you've loved today's podcast, please make sure you hit like and subscribe. Making sure you turn your notifications on if you're listening to the podcast. Please do give us a follow and leave us a quick review and rating if that's okay.
Just before we go,
and, go on, Chazza.
Finish your sentence. This is my final words, but finish your sentence.
But that does bring us to the end of the previous show. Ready for game week 22. We'll be back next week for the review, of course, preview for game week 23. And keep an eye out on FPL Addicts socials. And if you haven't already, make sure you do subscribe and like the new YouTube channel. Link is in the caption below, as I say. And until then, have a belt of a weekend and hopefully some green arrows for game week 22.
Chris, final words just before you go. Fair play to you taking ownership on this entire platform this evening. I think you've done a decent enough job. And we're very interested to hear the feedback from Jack. But well done to you.
Cheers, Chaz. I love that, mate. And yeah, good luck for game week 22 to yourself and to all the FPL managers out there. Don't forget, the deadline is this evening if you're in the UK. So the deadline basically is going to be 6:30 because we've got Chelsea and Fulham tonight. But take care and bye for now.